All right, we did this for Clemson. We told you guys we were going to do it again, but ACC refs were on full display on Saturday in Doak Campbell Stadium, and we're going to talk about some of this big picture, but I want to look at a very specific part of the game, all very, very condensed. I think there were other bad calls in the game, but I do want to talk about really the part of the game where Virginia Tech did most of their damage and how I think the refs truly contributed to that. Now, I very much appreciate Florida State for winning this game because just like I told you with the Clemson video, I hate getting on here and it's sounding like I'm blaming the refs for a loss, right? I would do this video win, loss, draw, it doesn't matter. I think that what's important is holding officials and holding this conference ultimately to a standard because they do the same thing with us. If we rush the field, they fine us. If Norvell was to say something negative about officials, they would fine him. If a player commits a certain type of foul, they'll penalize that player. They're literally holding Darrell Jackson out from being able to play due to NCAA rules. The ACC is enforcing that. If he was to dress out, they wouldn't let the game go on. So all that said, there is no accountability for refs. You know, coaches have accountability, players have accountability, teams, programs, institutions have accountability. There's no accountability for the conference when they are incompetent. And so we're going to continue to do this whether Florida State wins or loses. But I want to look at a really, really specific time of the game. And shout out to Brendan Sonnone of Noles 247. I had a bunch of other plays and just kind of thought it would be labor the point to go outside of this. But in a 7-play span, you had some of the worst officiating blunders that I think you could have imagined. And people were upset at how Florida State played in the second quarter. And I do think that they could have capitalized in some other areas. But let's look at this first play here. Jordan Travis, play breaks down, pocket kind of collapses, and he takes off running the ball. I have watched this play 100 times, and I can't figure out where the hold on Casey Roddick was, which is what they ended up calling here. But they call it a hold on Casey Roddick. Jordan scrambles for a first down at the 49, and even though they call the call on Casey Roddick, there's no call on this late hit here. The defender comes in and literally lands on top of Jordan Travis's head, such that he spins over. Jordan slid down his back, and he's landed on from behind, and there's no call there. That would have easily been a 15-yard penalty that should have been called. So not only did they blow the Casey Roddick play, they absolutely blew the fact that this should have been 15 yards down the field. Florida State gets backed up on this play, and it's really kind of unthinkable that the refs missed this twice. Two different refs, two blown calls on the same play. At very worst, this should have been I don't even know. I think when you have a personal foul that's after the play, it would have actually been a first down for Florida State. You would have had the 10-yard holding, and then a personal foul as he's sliding. That play is dead. You'd have then had the 15-yard penalty. So the Florida State would have had a net 5-yard gain, and then would have gotten a first down. So that's a huge play. A first down around midfield as opposed to having to fight back from 3rd and long. Okay, just a couple of plays later, there's been a whole lot of talk about Jordan's decision-making on this. You can go read Brendan Sonnone's Twitter if you want justification for why he threw this, but I don't really care so much about the decision he made. I do care about the fact that this defender is literally grabbing Jakai's shoulder pads and jersey from behind to slow him down and interfere with the pass. How this was not called defensive pass interference, I have no clue at all. Same drive, couple plays later, Florida State gets into position here, should have a first down there around the 30-yard line if the catch can be made. Shoot, if that thing's caught in stride, it might be a touchdown. Great job by Jakai getting past his guy. I don't necessarily think he would have beaten him. Obviously, he was close enough to interfere. He probably would have been close enough to tackle him, but absolutely no way that this should go uncalled. There's a ref right there on the sideline looking at it. There's another one right behind him, and he is grabbing his shoulder pads before the play. I could see this live in Doak Campbell Stadium from the east side of the stadium and could tell that this was pass interference. No call, huge no call. Florida State has to punt, and it gives Virginia Tech the ball back, and this is where they end up going down and scoring the touchdown after this. Absolutely crazy that this wasn't called. Absolutely crazy. Ja'Kai looks around like, what in the world? Why are you not calling anything here? He can feel himself being pulled down from behind. What's crazy about this is had Ja'Kai had the ball in his hands and this been made as a tackle, it would have been a 15-yard horse collar. And that's how bad they missed it. It wasn't just the fact that it was defensive pass interference, and he interfered with him trying to make a gamble. It was a smart play by the defender. It probably saved them 45 yards worth of field position, 30 yards worth of field position, because it's just a 15-yard penalty, and he absolutely got away with it. Absolutely ridiculous to have basically 3 missed calls in 3 plays there, the play in between these two that we've talked about. Fortunately, the refs didn't screw anything up there. But, all right, we'll get right back to the next play here in just a second. But we told you guys about my buddy Alex Knapp, and we've told you about him several times. Again, diehard Seminole fan. He owns Knapp Accident and Injury. It's a law firm. They specialize in car accidents, Uber and Lyft accidents, personal injury, and more. Listen, if you're in any kind of an accident, especially like an Uber and Lyft, or if you are hit or in an accident with any kind of commercial vehicle like an Amazon truck or just whatever, there's so many on the road these days. Give him a call. It's 813-568-3724. Maybe you don't think it's a huge deal. Maybe you think you're fine. You should at least have a conversation with him. Have a conversation with him about what your rights are, what you may be able to get back as a benefit if you are hurt or injured in any kind of an accident. If you're an FSU fan, let my guy, Alex Knapp, take care of you. You'll get his direct cell phone number. You won't have to deal with a paralegal or a case manager or anything like that. Listen, you may not need him today. Nobody that you know may need him, but lock his number in your phone one way or the other. Again, it's Knapp, K-N-A-P-P, Accident and Injury. Appreciate them for their support. We have a giveaway coming for them for the Miami game. You guys will want to be tuned in for that, especially if you live here in the state of Florida and you're thinking about trying to get to that game. Tickets are sold out. You're going to want to be part of it. Appreciate Knapp, Accident and Injury for their support. Kind of crazy. All right, this is the big one that everyone talks about. The late hit here, 54 comes in and has already started. Here's what frustrates me, has already started his leap before that ball is fully out, right? Like he's already started his tackle motion before the ball is released. The ball has just gone out of Drones' hand. He is literally lowering his shoulder there when we back it up just a tad before Drones releases the ball. And so that's what's frustrating to see is how is he supposed to let up from that point? Drones has a really quick throwing motion, got it out in less than a second as far as a wind-up and toss goes, and obviously took away one of the prettiest plays of the day from Azariah Thomas. Florida State gets that ball there in Virginia Tech territory. It keeps 7 points off the board for Virginia Tech. It also probably adds to FSU's lead. They probably go down and go up 25-3, 29-3. Florida State's offense was moving fairly well before they kind of got screwed on that last drive that we talked about with the missed DPI, the missed personal foul on Travis. And this is just kind of frustrating because it leads to 7 points. Also, what is 54 supposed to do there? He had already started his tackle, landing on the quarterback. We'll show you some. There was a play later in the game where Jordan Travis got sacked and absolutely landed on. So there's just no consistency with that being called. Kind of ridiculous and takes away one of the prettiest plays by Azariah Thomas, talented young secondary member, defensive back that you really would like to have that one back. Beautiful play, an interception on Sundays. Taken away because of the officials. All right, here's another quick one. This is the drive, the same drive, a couple plays later. Actually, maybe the very next play. Just a pretty basic hold there on for Kalen DeLoach. Won't spend a ton of time on this. You can have holding on every single play, but he's clearly impeding his progress there. Florida State, if Kalen can cut that, might get a TFL on this. Obviously, Jarian Jones there as well. But Kalen being held pretty badly right in front of the official right there on the 37-yard line, looking right at it. doesn't call anything. If they call that hold, obviously Virginia Tech has a first and 20 from way back. May kill that drive, may not. Maybe they pick it up, but man, Virginia Tech was very much aided on this drive by the officials. And then this one's probably the most dangerous, the one that is the most frustrating at all. Drones running down the field made a great play, and Azariah Thomas just gets absolutely blindsided here. There is no excuse for this one. Would have been a 15-yard penalty, would have been a personal foul, would have taken this play way back. Based on my understanding, I could be wrong on this. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you are confident on this. But I think personal fouls are almost typically always from where the ball was spotted, not necessarily from where the foul occurred. I could be wrong on that on a crackback block like this. I might be, in error there, but that would have been like a 25-yard penalty because it happened 15 yards down the field. You'd have backed it up 15, so I guess it would have been about a 30-yard penalty. Again, just how do you miss this? How do you miss this illegal crackback block where the defender's head is turned, he gets absolutely blindsided? This is supposed to be about player safety. This is supposed to be about protecting these kids, and the refs completely miss one. Again, missed like 3 on this drive alone, missed 3 on the drive before. So like 6 fouls within 7 plays. Crazy, and it leads to the Virginia Tech touchdown. Florida State fans were frustrated, again, with how the second quarter went. I understand that, but man, it was so much aided by poor officiating. And you hate to blame the refs for everything. You hate to say that it's all their fault or they were the cause of this, the cause of that. But man, how many times can you get up and give maximum effort and go out and do the right things and be held and get hit late and then continue to overcome that, have blindsided blocks, make interceptions, throw guys open and have DPIs and do that over and over again. And so it's hard for me to blame, man, you want to blame the offense for the way that they got screwed on their drive. You want to blame the defense for the way they got screwed on their drive that led to the only touchdown that the defense gave up on the day. If things go a little bit differently, it's probably 29-3 at the half. Maybe they still take that kickback in the second half. Maybe they don't. Hopefully that's a lesson just in and of itself that we're not kicking the ball short anymore, but just kind of crazy to think that if a couple of calls go the right way, Florida State's probably up 29-3 kicking off at halftime. If they don't have the kick return for a touchdown and they score the 2 touchdowns that they score, this game feels a lot different at 43-3 as a final score. Even if it was 43-10, I think it feels pretty different. Again, it's hard for me to get on the defense too much in this game. I think it's frustrating that things weren't called appropriately. Hey, if you're enjoying this, we really enjoy doing these videos, but we can't monetize them as much because ESPN owns the rights to everything. If you feel comfortable, we'd love for you to support the channel. There's an option for you to do that down there in the description, or just make sure you're subscribed. That's a good way to show us that you appreciate these videos. You don't have to watch every single one, but if you enjoy the ref content, you're going to watch them for the next 7 weeks anyway. Do me a favor and hit that button and subscribe to the channel. Big picture, this is just what you're going to get. This is the state of the ACC against Florida State at this point. And we told you this. We told you this when that Board of Trustees meeting happened earlier this year. Florida State, Michael Alford, the president, the Board of Trustees, all made a statement this offseason that was very anti-ACC. And it benefits the ACC for Florida State's brand to be weakened, to be lessened when they are trying to negotiate to get out of this conference. It just absolutely does. And so if you don't think that the ACC is holding that against the Seminoles, then I don't know what to tell you. I think that you also have that factor, but then you just have the factor that the ACC's officiating is worse than every other major conferences. It's really not even close. You look at the way that Syracuse got hosed this weekend. You look at the way that, I know we're all happy about it happening, but the way that Miami got hosed this weekend, it was so clear and obvious that that kid's arm was down. No, I'm very happy that Florida State or that Miami got penalized for it, and Florida State fans can laugh and say that Mario was an idiot, which he was. And sometimes the football guys are just out to get you, and you can't be in a one-score game against Georgia Tech when you're a 19-point favorite. I get it, but that kid was clearly down. His elbow was clearly on the ground, and ACC officials are consistently awful over and over and over and over again. And this just ends up being another week that you can say that. Expect the same against Syracuse. Now, I think Florida State's good enough to go out and beat Syracuse and probably 6 or 7 boneheaded officiating calls that we're going to see on the field. I think they're probably good enough to do that against Duke. I think they're probably good enough to do that against Wake and Pitt. Probably against Miami as well. Obviously, that worries me more because Miami does have talent, and if they play well, you're worried about it. What's unfortunate is you're probably going to send ACC refs there into the swamp. And so you hope that you can overcome not only playing on the road against the Gators, but also having ACC officials. Typically, SEC does the road games, ACC does the home. You flip-flop, right? When you play in Gainesville, it's typically the ACC. When you play in Tallahassee, they send the SEC officials so that they're not accused of any kind of conspiracy. I'd rather have the SEC guys because at least I know they're going to be competent. Frustrating to see, frustrating to watch. Again, this is probably just something Florida State fans should expect. This is something that you're going to get all year. Maybe we do this every week. Maybe we don't. We're going to highlight when there is incompetence. If there was some kind of a major incompetent play by our coach like there was Miami's this weekend, we'd be highlighting that. If there was a huge discrepancy or a huge disparity that Jordan Travis did something wrong, we would cover that. So, again, it's a lot better to be able to do this after a win because we don't sound like we're blaming a loss on officials, but I'm not convinced that we don't end up losing the game because officials are absolutely terrible over and over and over and over again. It nearly cost us against Clemson when they couldn't figure out what a DPI was on them, but everything we did was a pass interference, and hopefully it doesn't cost us later in the year. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for watching, for being part of the channel. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button. We certainly do appreciate that. We'll talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.